Horrific scenes from a deadly flash flood in small-town America over Memorial Day weekend drew national attention. But now the cameras are gone, and the locals have to figure out what to do next. Their problem? Their rivers. A combination of climate change and too much real estate development has turned water from an asset to a liability. Diana Olick continues our series on the rising risk to real estate from increasingly extreme weather. Diana.
Well, Michelle, as our weather becomes wetter, our real estate is playing a bigger role in how we deal with water. It took a disaster in one small town in Maryland to see the real risk of how we develop our land and to imagine a drastic solution.
It would have been called a 1,000-year flood if the same destructive deluge hadn't crashed through Ellicott City, Maryland just 2 years before. The first time around in 2016, on the city's nearly 250-year-old Main Street, shop owners like Donna Sanger worked tirelessly to rebuild.
There was this enthusiasm, let's put on a show, let's bring the town back.
But this time,
this is more like a funeral.
Now they feel like these destructive floods are the new normal because this historic town, barely a blip on the map, is a blueprint for developing disaster, real estate development, in the face of increasingly wet weather. Joe Sexton is a scientist who uses satellite images to map changes in ecosystems.
You had two 1,000-year floods within 2 years of each other. How did that happen?
The overwhelming factor was intense rainstorms. Climate change due to warming oceans, changing atmospheric patterns, more water is falling. On top of that, we're intensifying land use, which is clearing the natural vegetation and replacing it with impervious surfaces like concrete, asphalt, through which water does not penetrate.
Ellicott City was built just north of the Patapsco River. Several tributaries above its main street run through the town to the river. Those water currents were the energy for this town, built around a mill in 1772. But since 1991, real estate around the popular Main Street exploded. Developers submitted more than 100 plans to build residential and commercial buildings in about 3 square miles around the city. Most were approved.
We have flood maps that were drawn based on conditions that are no longer true.
In the most recent storm, nearly 8 inches of rain fell in just 3 hours. Intense water with nowhere to go. Sexton's maps show how development increased the intensity of the flooding by up to 30%, and Ellicott City is just one example.
We saw it on a much bigger scale in Houston last year during Hurricane Harvey. So what is the solution? Well, just last Friday, the county for Ellicott City put a halt on new development in the area, stopping about 600 housing units that were in the permitting process. There's also a proposal to tear down some of the historic buildings on Main Street to give the river more space and to create green space where the water can go. Pretty drastic, though, Michelle.
Yeah, it certainly is. Good report, Diana. Thanks so much. Diana Olick.